The blue grease pencil rolls across the conference table and stops against Malcolm Reed's closed notebook. Hearthstone is creating a regional linen operations lead position, Malcolm says. I'd like to offer it to you, Nora. Evan's hand comes down on the pencil before I can reach it. She works for Mercer. Malcolm looks at his hand, then at me. That would be Nora's decision. 6 weeks earlier, Evan had made me train Grant Keller as my successor before the quarterly partner review. Then he'd said, "You're not leadership material," blocked my promotion, and forced me to introduce Grant using my own results. Malcolm had interrupted that presentation to ask who had actually built the account. I'd answered once. Now my aunt is sitting beside Evan with both hands wrapped around a paper cup, watching me as if my next sentence might split our family down the middle. Evan presses his thumb into the soft blue wax. "If you take that job," he says, "you know what it'll cost us." The answer I give him begins 6 weeks earlier, at 5:42 on a Monday morning, with 84 carts of damp hotel linen and Grant Keller wearing shoes that have never met a laundry floor. "They told me business casual," he says, staring down at his brown loafers. They lied. A cart bangs through the receiving doors behind us. Grant jumps. The driver pulling it doesn't. Mercer Textile Service wakes up loud. The dryers thump before sunrise. Steam clouds the high windows. Flatwork ironers swallow wet sheets at one end and send them out hot, dry, and sharp-edged at the other. The whole building smells like detergent, warm cotton, and the faint metallic bite of machinery working harder than it wants to. I hand Grant a reflective vest. He turns it over. Do the colors mean anything? Yellow means you're visiting. Orange means you're trained. Green means you're maintenance. And blue? We don't have blue. He points to the grease pencil tucked behind my ear. That means people should leave me alone until I've had coffee. He smiles carefully, still deciding what kind of person I am. Grant is 30-something. Tall, composed, and better looking than anyone needs to be at dawn in an industrial laundry. He came from a beverage distributor, where he managed restaurant accounts and, according to Evan, understands executive presence. His hair has survived the humidity. Mine surrendered years ago. I take him to the laminated root board bolted beside the production office. Across the top are the day's hotel accounts. Down the side are pounds received, pounds finished, cart seals, shortages, rejects, and dock times. I tie the pencil back to its string. Blue is actual, I tell him. Black marker is planned. Never cover one with the other. Why not update it digitally? We do. This is what the floor sees. If the system says we have 300 king sheets and Kiara is standing here with an empty cart, trust Kiara long enough to go count. As if summoned, Kiara Bell walks over carrying a handheld scanner and half a bagel. Who's this? Grant Keller. He'll be taking over Hearthstone. Kiara stops chewing. The sentence sounds strange in my mouth, but for a good reason, or what I still believe is a good reason. In 2 weeks, after the quarterly partner review, Evan is supposed to announce my promotion to regional director. Grant will inherit Hearthstone, our largest hotel group, while I oversee the rest of Mercer's partner accounts and the 8-property expansion Hearthstone is considering. Evan called the training a final proof of leadership. Kiara looks from Grant to me. You leaving us? Moving upstairs. Physically or spiritually? Neither, if Evan keeps putting meetings at 6:30. Grant laughs. Kiara doesn't. She studies him over the bagel. Can you drive a box truck? I've driven a rental van. That's adorable. She walks away. Grant watches her go. Does she like anyone? She likes accurate cart counts. Okay, so there's hope. That answer helps him. I spend the morning showing him why hotel linen is less about washing than timing. A clean sheet delivered 2 hours late is a dirty problem. Every Hearthstone property has a par level. The number of full linen sets needed to operate while one set is in rooms, one is in transit, and one is being processed. Fancy hotels like to pretend those numbers are elegant. In practice, guests use towels as floor mats, banquet managers steal napkins from each other, and housekeeping supervisors hide emergency stock in locked closets. At 9, we stand beside a line of white carts sealed with colored plastic tags. Red seal? I ask. Shortage or substitution? Yellow. Stain rejects pending credit. Green. Released and counted. I tap a cart with my pencil. This one? Grant checks the tag. Green. Look again. He crouches. The seal says 48116. The manifest says 48118. Wrong cart? Right hotel, wrong load. If we send it, their inventory looks correct until Thursday. Then 200 bath towels vanish on paper. He looks toward the dock. How did you notice that? The 6 is upside down. That's it? That's enough. He fixes it without making a show of having been corrected, another point in his favor. At lunch, Evan finds us in the break room with training binders open between 2 vending machine coffees. He wears a navy suit and the expression he uses when lenders are nearby, though the only other person in the room is Omar from maintenance eating soup out of a mug. How's our future account lead? Evan asks. Grant closes his binder, learning how much I don't know. Don't let Nora scare you. She thinks every towel has a biography. Some have criminal records, I say. Omar lifts his mug. Can confirm. Evan gives us half a smile. He is good at that, joining the joke while making sure everyone knows the meeting has changed. He turns to Grant. I need 5 minutes with Nora. Grant gathers his papers. Take the binder, I tell him. Read the conditioning section before we walk the new tunnel. When he leaves, Evan picks up the top page of my handoff checklist. You don't need signatures for every module. I do if I'm certifying the handoff. It looks distrustful. It looks complete. He drops the page. Grant is excited. Let him feel like we have confidence in him. I do have confidence in him. Then loosen your grip. Omar's spoon clicks once against his mug. He stands. Soup needs maintenance, he says, and carries it out. Evan waits for the door to close. The partner review is your opportunity, he says. Malcolm Reed is flying in because Hearthstone is serious about the expansion. I need you looking forward, not buried in seal numbers. The seal numbers are why the account is profitable. You see, that tone? What tone? The one that makes a person regret asking a question. He sits across from me. For a second, he looks less like my general manager and more like the cousin who once drove 3 hours to help me move out of my former husband's house. He packed my kitchen in liquor store boxes because they were free, then labeled every box glass even when it contained towels. I'm trying to get you where you said you wanted to go, he says. I know. Regional director has to be more than the smartest operator in the room. I know that, too. Good. He taps the handoff sheet, then stop making Grant sign homework. He'll be accountable for the account. The signatures protect him as much as me. Evan's mouth shifts. It is a tiny reaction, gone almost immediately. Fine, he says. Just don't turn the review into a loading dock seminar. On Tuesday, Grant and I walk the new tunnel washer with Omar. The machine runs linen through connected compartments, moving it from pre-wash to main wash to rinse without unloading between stages. It is supposed to increase our capacity by nearly 40% once the line is balanced. Omar opens a maintenance panel and points to a gauge. Steam control valve is drifting. How much? I ask. 3% when it's happy, 9% when it's hot. Grant writes it down. Replacement? I ask. Ordered, then postponed. By who? Omar looks toward the glass offices above the floor. The answer reaches us before he says it. Cash hold. Grant stops writing. Does that affect the Hearthstone openings? It affects conditioning, I say. New linen needs 2 cycles before it goes into guest rooms. If all 8 hotels open on the proposed schedule, we need the valve done first. The manufacturer says the machine can handle the volume. The manufacturer also thinks every load arrives sorted. Omar closes the panel. Valve gives up during peak steam demand. You lose throughput until I can stabilize it. How long? An hour? Maybe 6. Grant writes that down too. I add the valve to his handoff checklist and email Evan a copy. His reply arrives 9 minutes later. Noted. Keep review materials at executive level. On Wednesday, I take Grant to Hearthstone's Marlowe Hotel, where the housekeeping director keeps reserve pillowcases in a storage room labeled floral equipment. Grant finds them within 10 minutes. You told me people hide emergency stock. I did. She has 9 cases. She had 12 last month. He glances at me. Do we confront her? We ask why she doesn't trust the delivery count. The director, Denise, folds her arms when we bring it up. She has run housekeeping longer than either Grant or I have worked at Mercer, and she treats vendor optimism like a communicable illness. Your Friday truck was short twice in March, she says. The credits show 1 shortage, Grant says. Denise looks at me. I look at Grant. He catches it, which means the second one didn't get logged correctly. Denise's shoulders lower a fraction. We spend 20 minutes comparing her handwritten count with our scanner records. The missing shortage traces back to a substituted cart that arrived after the night supervisor closed the dock ticket. Grant offers to correct the credit. Denise says, "That's $46. It's your $46. On the drive back, he says, "Evan told me client relationships had gotten too dependent on you." What does that mean? He said you'd built trust, but some people came to you instead of following process. Denise followed the process. Our night supervisor didn't. I saw that. I wait. Grant watches the highway. For what it's worth, he made this sound like a cleaner handoff. It will be clean. That's not what I meant. I know. The quarterly review is Friday at 10. By 9:15, the upstairs conference room smells like coffee and the lemon cleaner Aunt Celia uses whenever visitors come. She founded Mercer with 2 used washers and a delivery van that stalled at stoplights. Now she sits at the end of the table in a cream jacket, reading the presentation as if seeing it for the first time. You cut emergency purchases by 28%? She asks me. Across Hearthstone. Why didn't I know that? You signed the quarterly report. She peers over her glasses. I sign a lot of things. Evan comes in carrying a leather folio. Nora, can we talk? Something in his voice makes Aunt Celia put down the report. Now? I ask. Now. He closes the conference room door, leaving the 2 of us in the hall beside a framed photograph of Aunt Celia's first delivery van. Evan keeps his voice low. I'm changing the structure. My stomach tightens before I understand the words. Changing it how? Grant will take regional account lead. That's my promotion. It's the same expansion, organized differently. What am I taking? You'll remain account operations manager and support the plant transition. For a moment, the dryers below us seemed to move inside my chest. I trained my replacement because you told me I was moving up. You trained your successor because the account needed continuity. Then why am I staying in the same job? The tunnel launch needs your operational focus. I stare at him. He looks tired. He also looks prepared. After the launch, he says, we can revisit your path. You put my results in Grant's introduction. They're Mercer's results. My name was on those slides yesterday. The partner needs confidence in the new structure, and removing my name gives them confidence. His jaw hardens. This is exactly the issue. You make every decision about recognition. You promised me the position. I said we were working toward it. You said, train Grant well and the regional role is yours. The conference room door opens. Aunt Celia stands there holding the printed presentation. They're here, she says. She looks at Evan, then at me, and chooses the easiest question. Is everything ready? Evan answers for us. It is. Malcolm Reed arrives with Hearthstone's facilities director and a narrow black notebook. He remembers Kiara's name from his last visit. He asks Omar about the tunnel's water reclamation rate. Then he sits down and lets Evan talk for 12 uninterrupted minutes. At slide 13, Evan turns to me. Nora, Why don't you introduce Grant and walk everyone through the account improvements he'll be building on? My broken blue grease pencil is still in my hand. I stand because Aunt Celia is watching, because Grant looks confused rather than pleased, and because 5 years of my work is glowing on the wall behind me. Grant completed his account training this week, I say. He's been introduced to the root teams, property contacts, inventory controls, and current expansion risks. Evan shifts in his chair. I click to the next slide. Emergency purchases. Down 28%. My photograph of the root board fills half the screen. My blue numbers are visible beneath the chart, but my name has been removed from the caption. This reduction came from daily reconciliation of actual plant capacity against hotel par levels, I say. Malcolm looks at the screen, then at the grease pencil in my hand. Who actually built this account? He asks. The room narrows to the broken point of blue wax against my palm. I did. Malcolm closes his notebook. The click of the notebook closing is small, but Evan hears it. He leans forward. Nora built the original operating model. What you're seeing today is how we institutionalize it so the account can scale beyond one person. Malcolm keeps his hand on the notebook. That wasn't my question. I think Nora answered it, Dana Whitmore says. She is Hearthstone's facilities director, a compact woman with silver-framed glasses and the unnerving habit of reading the footnotes before the slide titles. Grant clears his throat. For clarity, I've been training with Nora. I haven't taken over the account yet. Evan turns to him with a smile designed to look encouraging. You're being modest. I'm being accurate. Aunt Celia examines the printed deck. The lemon cleaner seems stronger now. Malcolm opens his notebook again, but instead of writing, he flips backward through several pages. When we first discussed the expansion, he says, the proposal listed Nora as implementation lead. We refined the structure, Evan says. Grant will manage partner strategy. Nora will support execution from the plant. Was Hearthstone informed? That's what today is for. Malcolm looks at me. When were you informed? I can feel Evan waiting for me to decide whether I am family or an employee, 9 minutes before you arrived. Aunt Celia lowers the presentation. Evan's expression barely changes. The final decision was made this morning. After I completed Grant's training, I say, I'm not going to conduct an internal personnel discussion in a partner review. Then we should discuss the expansion risks, Dana says. Those are ours. She reaches for the remote. Evan has placed it beside his folio. He slides it toward her. Dana goes back 2 slides to the opening schedule. 4 hotels are grouped in the first launch week, with the remaining 4 spread across the next month. Can the plant support this? She asks. Yes, Evan says. Under what conditions? Malcolm asks me. Evan answers first. The new tunnel gives us plenty of capacity. I set the broken pencil beside my folder. The tunnel gives us the rated capacity once the steam valve is replaced and the line is balanced. We also need the opening stock delivered in waves so it can be conditioned twice before going into rooms. Dana looks at the slide. I don't see the valve. It's a maintenance item, Evan says. It affects output, I say. How much? Malcolm asks. Between 3 and 9% right now, more if it drifts under peak demand. Evan's voice stays pleasant. Omar has it under control. The replacement is on a cash hold. Aunt Celia turns toward him. Why? It's scheduled within the capital plan. When? Before launch. I pick up the next page in my folder. The current purchase order says 6 to 8 weeks after release. Dana checks the schedule. The first opening is 7 weeks away. The manufacturer routinely beats its lead time, Evan says. Sometimes, I say. His head turns toward me. Malcolm closes the notebook again. I'd like an updated capacity assessment before Hearthstone approves the rollout calendar. We'll have Grant prepare it, Evan says. Grant's fingers tighten around his pen. With Nora, Malcolm says. The rest of the review lasts 43 minutes. Evan recovers because recovering is one of his talents. He moves smoothly into service scores, loss rates, and the sustainability savings from the water reclamation system. He knows the financing figures without looking down. He makes Dana laugh with a story about a private club chef who tried to classify tablecloths as disposable supplies. By the end, Malcolm agrees to keep the expansion under consideration. The calendar remains unapproved. Evan lands on his feet, but the floor underneath him has moved. When the Hearthstone team stands to leave, Dana takes one of the training checklists from my open folder. "You actually initial every section?" she asks Grant. "Nora makes me demonstrate it first." "Good." She reads the list. Her finger stops beside new linen conditioning and capacity constraints. "You both signed this yesterday." "Yes," Grant says. Dana looks at Evan. "So there's already a written assessment." "This is an internal training document," he says. "I'd still like to see it." "I'll provide the relevant data in a partner format." She returns the page to me rather than him. Malcolm pauses beside my chair. Up close, his notebook is scuffed at the corners. It looks less like an executive accessory and more like something that has spent years in maintenance rooms. "The blue board," he says. "Can I see it before I leave?" Evan steps in. "Grant can give you the full plant tour." Malcolm's gaze stays on me. I asked Nora. I give him the tour. Evan comes too. At the root board, Kiara is changing Marlowe's finished count from 1,640 pounds to 1,512. She glances at the group gathering behind her. "Rejects?" I ask. One bundle had makeup stains set in. One had something green on it that I've chosen not to identify before lunch. Dana smiles. "How does that flow back to the hotel?" "Yellow tag, scanner record, credit queue," Grant says. Kiara looks impressed despite herself. Malcolm points to the blue number beneath Friday's planned capacity. "What's that?" "Actual available output after rewash and maintenance holds," I say. "And the black?" "Planned." "Why are they different?" Evan folds his arms. "The plan assumed the tunnel would be stable at full steam demand," I say. "The actual number includes the valve drift." Malcolm writes that down. Grant steps toward the board. "It also includes conditioning volumes separately, so it doesn't disappear inside regular hotel pounds." I glance at him. He gives a tiny shrug as if to say he did read the section. Malcolm asks him 3 more questions. Grant answers 2 and says he needs to verify the 3rd. It is exactly what I taught him to do. By the loading doors, Malcolm shakes my hand. "Send the capacity assessment through the usual channel," he says. "The usual channel is changing," Evan says. Malcolm releases my hand, then makes sure the new one works. The moment the visitors are gone, Evan walks upstairs without looking at me. Aunt Celia follows him. Grant stays on the dock, still holding his binder. "I didn't know," he says. A driver rolls an empty cart between us. "You said that." "I mean, I didn't know you weren't getting the director role." I pull the broken pencil from my pocket and drop both pieces into the trash. "What did you think successor meant?" "That you were moving up." "So did I." He looks toward the stairs. "He told me the announcement had been delayed because you wanted more time." I laugh once. The sound surprises both of us. Did I look like I wanted more time? "You looked like you wanted to stab him with office supplies." "It was a grease pencil. He would have survived." Grant smiles, then loses it. "What happens now?" "You finished training." "You still want to train me?" "I want the account handed off correctly." That's a very diplomatic answer. It's the answer I have. Evan sends for me at 4:30. His office overlooks the plant through a long glass wall. Aunt Celia is sitting in the visitor's chair with her handbag in her lap. That tells me the conversation began before I entered and will continue after I leave. Evan remains standing. "You embarrassed me in front of our largest partner." "You removed me from my own promotion 9 minutes before the review." "This was never your promotion." Aunt Celia winces. I look at her. "Did you know?" She adjusts the handbag strap around her fingers. "Evan told me he was still evaluating the structure." "When?" "Last night." "And you didn't call me." "He asked me to trust him." Evan moves behind his desk. Malcolm came here to assess whether we can handle a major expansion. You turned a personnel disappointment into a public confidence problem. The valve created the confidence problem. The valve is manageable. Then release the purchase order. You don't have visibility into the full cash picture. I have visibility into the first hotel opening, which is why you belong in operations. There it is, so plainly stated that even Aunt Celia looks at him. He takes a breath. What I mean is, your strength is execution. Grant has broader client experience. He found hidden pillowcases on Wednesday and thinks a box truck drives like a rental van. He presents well. He does. My agreement irritates him more than an argument would. I'm not attacking Grant, I say. I'm asking why you made me prove I could lead by training someone else, then gave him the role. You're not leadership material. Aunt Celia says his name quietly. Evan. He keeps his eyes on me. You are excellent in a crisis, he says. You are excellent when there is a correct answer and everyone else needs to get out of your way. Leadership requires people to want to follow you before the crisis. Kiara follows me. Kiara would follow a forklift if it kept an accurate schedule. Then buy the forklift a blazer. Aunt Celia's mouth twitches. Evan's doesn't. He sits. You will complete the handoff to Grant. Going forward, partner communication runs through him or me. You'll focus on tunnel readiness and plant execution. Will I have access to the Hearthstone inventory dashboard? For operational purposes, will I attend rollout meetings? When your input is needed, who decides that? I do. Aunt Celia shifts in her chair. Maybe we all go home and talk tomorrow. I want the change in writing, I say. Evan's eyes narrow. Excuse me. My responsibilities, Grant's responsibilities, who approves transfers, who certifies capacity, and who owns partner communication. Put it in writing. This is a family company, Nora. It's a company when you're assigning responsibility. It can be one when you define authority. Aunt Celia stands. That's enough. She says it to both of us, but she looks at me. In the parking lot, she catches up while I'm unlocking my car. You know how much pressure he's under. I know how much pressure the plan is under. The tunnel loan is bigger than anything we've carried. Hearthstone could change the company. So could losing Hearthstone. She rubs a spot on her cream sleeve. Evan helped you when things were bad. The old debt arrives exactly when summoned. Evan's truck in my former driveway, liquor boxes, my kitchen packed in 3 hours. I know what he did. Then give him room. He used all the room. Her face closes. You always did know how to make gratitude sound like a punishment. She walks to her car before I can answer. On Monday morning, my dashboard password stops working. Grant finds me at the root board after his first partner call. A new blue pencil hangs from the string. Kiara must have replaced it. Evan said you're having access issues. He revoked my access. He said IT was updating permissions. Did IT also update me out of the rollout call? Grant looks down at his binder. There is a fresh page clipped to the front. He moved the first 4 openings. My hand stops over the board. How far? 10 days earlier. That puts them before the valve's expected delivery. He says we can condition the opening stock by transferring inventory from existing properties. Which properties? Marlowe, Riverhouse, Stanton, and Bellwether. Hearthstone requires 2 signatures for cross-property transfers. He said Dana will approve them. Has she? Not yet. I take the page. The calendar is labeled Revision 4. My name appears at the bottom beside Prepared By. I didn't prepare this. I know. Who changed it? Grant glances toward the glass offices. The first truck of the morning backs into the dock. Its warning alarm beeps steadily through the silence between us. Grant opens his binder to the signed handoff sheet. The original dates sit beside both our initials. What do you want me to do? He asks. Keep that page. I have the whole version history. Keep that too. He studies me. You think he's going to blame you? I look up at the office window. Evan is standing behind the glass, watching us beside the blue board. I think he's going to need the numbers to become somebody's fault. I lower my eyes to the board and write the revised dates in black beneath the originals. Then I draw a box around them in blue. Evan comes down 5 minutes later. Grant, Dana needs the updated calendar before noon. Grant keeps the binder tucked against his side. Does she have the transfer authorizations? She has the plan. That's not what he asked, I say. Evan stops beside me. I've already explained the communication structure. You're standing at my board, the company's board. Then the company's board says we're short 46,000 pounds of conditioning capacity before the revised openings. His gaze moves over the numbers. Because you're calculating around a maintenance issue Omar can manage. I'm calculating around the machine we have. You're calculating around failure. Omar said 6 hours if the valve drifts under full demand. He said maybe 6. I used 4. Grant looks at me. 4 hours of lost output still leaves us short? By 14,000 pounds. That assumes every opening shipment arrives on time and sorted by property. Evan takes the revised calendar from Grant. We'll transfer existing par. That moves the shortage into occupied hotels. Temporarily? Sheets don't know the word temporarily. Kiara slows as she passes us with her scanner. Evan notices. Don't you have a route release? Waiting on an accurate count. She keeps walking. He lowers his voice. Prepare the assessment Malcolm requested. Include the transfers. I want a readiness certification by 3. I'll prepare a capacity assessment and certify readiness. If the numbers support it, they will. He returns upstairs with the calendar. Grant waits until the office door closes. He didn't ask for the binder. He thinks the binder belongs to him. Doesn't it? The paper does. He looks at me, then down at the signed page inside it. I spend 4 hours building the assessment without the Hearthstone dashboard. Kiara exports doc scans, account by account. Omar brings me handwritten downtime logs and sets them on my desk with the air of a man delivering medical results. You're being watched, he says. The glass wall gave it away. He asked whether you needed all of this. What did you say? That I don't understand paperwork. You're a terrible liar. I'm an excellent liar. I just don't waste it on management. The valve drift has worsened twice in 5 days. Omar can stabilize it by dropping steam demand, but that slows the wash cycle. The numbers are survivable if Hearthstone keeps its original opening schedule. At the accelerated dates, we need either a functioning replacement valve or outside conditioning capacity. I call Lila Chen at Valley Linen, a competitor 40 miles west. 3 years ago, when a boiler tube ruptured at her plant during a convention weekend, Mercer processed 9,000 pounds for her overnight. Since then, we've kept a reciprocal overflow agreement. Market rate plus 12%, transport paid by the sender, each load sealed and tracked separately. Thought you forgot about me, Lila says. You sent me pie at Christmas. My assistant sent you pie. It was average pie. What do you need? I give her the volume and dates. She whistles. Opening stock? 8 hotels. You finally landed that Hearthstone expansion? Not yet. Then you're doing an interesting amount of work for something you don't have. She can take 22,000 pounds in the first week and 18 the next. It costs more than keeping the work inside Mercer, but less than hotel emergency purchases and service credits. I add her written quote to the assessment, along with Omar's valve lead time, the existing property par levels, and the 2 signature requirement for transfers. At 2:40, I email the assessment to Evan and Grant. At 2:43, Evan replies, "Please attach a 1-page readiness certification without speculative vendor outsourcing." I write back, "The outside capacity is confirmed and priced. Internal capacity does not support the revised dates without it or the valve replacement." His next response comes directly to me, "Come upstairs." The office door is open when I arrive. Grant sits across from Evan, the training binder on his knees. Evan points at the chair beside him. "Close the door." I do, but I stay standing. He has printed my assessment. 3 passages are highlighted in pink. This reads like an argument against our own expansion. It reads like a capacity assessment. Valley Linen is our competitor. They're also our overflow partner. I'm not sending Hearthstone inventory through Lila Chen's plant. Then release the valve order and restore the original dates. The order is being handled. Has it been released? He taps the last page. You've included every obstacle and buried the solution. I included 3 solutions. One involves delaying our partner, one involves enriching a competitor, and one involves moving inventory we already own. Hearthstone owns the inventory. We control it operationally, under a 2-signature process. Grant shifts the binder on his knees. Dana hasn't signed. Evan gives him a flat look. She will when she sees the certified plan. Who's certifying it? Grant asks. The room goes still. Evan turns the assessment around and pushes it across the desk to me. He has added a signature block at the bottom. Nora Vale, Account Operations Manager, ready for launch under the revised calendar. Sign it, he says. I read the sentence twice. Change it to conditional readiness, subject to one of the 3 capacity measures above. I don't need editorial feedback, and I don't certify capacity we don't have. You prepared the numbers. Yes, you're responsible for plant readiness. You removed my access, my partner contact, and my authority over the schedule. You still have responsibility for execution. Then give me the authority to execute one of the solutions. His face colors slowly. Grant opens the binder. The handoff sheet lists the original schedule. This discussion does not involve you, Evan says. It has my name on revision 4. Then act like the account lead. Grant looks at the signature line, then back at him. I'm trying to understand what I'd be leading. Evan stands. Nora, I'm giving you a direct instruction. I understand it. Sign the certification. No. The word leaves my mouth calmly. That seems to offend him most. Aunt Celia appears behind the glass wall on her way to the accounting office. She sees the 3 of us and pauses. Evan steps around the desk and opens the door. Nora is refusing to certify the Hearthstone rollout. Aunt Celia looks at me through the doorway. Why? Because we're short on capacity. Evan hands her my assessment. We have capacity. She disagrees with how I'm allocating it. She scans the first page. Can't the hotels lend each other linen? They can transfer inventory with 2 approvals, I say, the sending property and Hearthstone facilities. And you don't think Dana will approve it? I think occupied hotels will drop below minimum par if she does. Evan laughs under his breath. Every solution has a disaster attached when Nora describes it. Aunt Celia reads farther. She pauses at Lila's quote. This is expensive. It's $4,100. For 2 weeks. The projected emergency purchase exposure is over $19,000. That assumes things go wrong, Evan says. Aunt Celia places the report on his desk. I don't understand all these numbers. I do, I say. The hurt in her face arrives before I can soften it. Evan notices. That's the leadership problem, he says quietly. Right there. I leave the unsigned certification on his desk. Friday is bonus day. Mine doesn't arrive. Payroll tells me to speak to Evan. Evan's assistant says he is in lender meetings until Monday. At 11, a company-wide message announces that Grant has assumed all Hearthstone communication effective immediately. My dashboard access changes from limited to gone. I finish the last 2 training modules using printed reports. Grant demonstrates shortage credit reconciliation and explains the escalation path for a missed dock window. When he signs the final sheet, he leaves extra space above his name. You're supposed to sign too, he says. I'm certifying the training was delivered. I'm not certifying the rollout. I know. I sign beside him. He closes the binder. I sent Dana the assessment. My pen stops. Evan told me to send the relevant capacity data. All of it? All of it. You need to tell him. I copied him. That surprises a laugh out of me. Grant looks relieved. Was that wrong? It was accurate. Kiara says that's the only compliment I'm getting this month. On Sunday, Aunt Celia comes to my apartment with a foil-covered dish. She sets it on the counter and keeps her coat on. Lasagna, she says. Thank you. You look tired. You look angry. I am tired of watching the two of you tear at each other. I slide the dish into the refrigerator. He held my bonus because I wouldn't sign a false readiness statement. He deferred it. Did he tell you that before or after you asked? She looks toward my kitchen window. He says you sent confidential planning information to a competitor. I requested a quote under our overflow agreement. You went around him. I included it in the assessment he ordered. He's carrying the loan, Nora. Every month the new tunnel isn't earning at capacity. It costs us. I know. Then help him. I gave him 3 workable choices. He needs you to believe in him. The sentence is so familiar that it almost feels warm. Aunt Celia used to say the same thing when Evan wanted the sales territory, when he wanted authority over pricing, when he moved his office upstairs and mine beside the loading dock. What does he need to believe about me? I ask. She pulls her handbag higher on her shoulder. You have always been difficult when you're hurt, and Evan is easy when he's hurting people. Her eyes flash. He packed your whole life into his truck. I remember every box, then act like it. I hold the edge of the counter until my fingers ache. How many promotions does 3 hours with a truck buy? She stares at me. The refrigerator hums behind us. Somewhere upstairs, a chair scrapes across a floor. I didn't raise you to keep score, she says. You didn't raise me. Her face empties. I regret the words immediately. They stay where I put them. She opens the door. Aunt Celia. I should go. The lasagna sits untouched in my refrigerator for 4 days. Monday morning, Evan hands me a written reprimand for insubordination and failure to support the Hearthstone transition. He gives me the choice between signing the readiness certification or accepting a 1-week unpaid suspension. I sign the bottom of the reprimand. He looks almost satisfied until he reads what I wrote beside my name. Receipt acknowledged. Findings disputed. Capacity assessment dated June 14th remains current. You really want to do this? He asks. You already did it. Security isn't involved. I pack my mug, a spare shirt, and the small desk fan that only works when kicked. Kiara watches from the route board. He suspended you? 1 week. During conditioning? Yes. She looks upstairs. That seems operationally stupid. Put that on a t-shirt. She unhooks the blue pencil from its string and offers it to me. That stays with the board, I tell her. So do you. Apparently not this week. I leave it in her hand. The accelerated opening stock arrives Wednesday mixed across 3 trailers instead of separated by property. By Thursday afternoon, the steam valve drifts under continuous demand. Omar reduces cycle speed to keep the tunnel stable. Evan authorizes inventory pulls from Marlow, River House, Stanton, and Bellwether, while Dana's approval is still pending. Grant refuses to sign the transfer sheet. A warehouse supervisor signs as the second Mercer representative, which satisfies Evan's internal form and satisfies nothing in Hearthstone's process. The first I hear about the shortage is a single email from Denise at Marlow. I assume there is a reason 40% of my reserve was collected without approval. Please tell me it is a good one. I forward it to Grant with 1 sentence. This belongs to the account lead. Then I close my laptop. By Friday, Marlow is buying retail towels. River House delays room turns while housekeepers wait for sheets. At Mercer, conditioned opening stock backs up in the wrong carts because the mixed shipment was loaded by purchase order line instead of hotel. Grant comes to my apartment after work. His perfect hair has finally met the laundry floor. I brought your binder, he says. It's your binder. I brought a copy. He sets it beside the untouched lasagna dish, which is migrated from my refrigerator to the counter because trash pickup is tomorrow. He opens to the schedule page. The original dates are visible above both our initials. Behind it are Revision 4, the email transmitting my full assessment, Dana's unanswered authorization request, and photographs of the route board showing the blue capacity figures before my suspension. Malcolm asked for these, he says. Did you send them? Yes. Did you tell Evan? Yes. How are you still employed? He needs me for the partner meeting. What partner meeting? Monday morning, Malcolm and Dana are coming back. I close the binder. Evan told them the shortages came from gaps in the operational handoff. Grant's jaw tightens. I told them the handoff was complete. That won't stop him. It already did. He takes an envelope from his jacket. Inside is a printed message from Malcolm. Hearthstone requests Nora Vale's attendance to review current recovery options and the record supporting rollout readiness. Below it, Evan has added his own note in blue ink. Attendance required. I fold the page and put it back. Grant watches me. You're going? Not under his note. At 8 Monday morning, Evan agrees in writing to end my suspension, release my bonus, and let me address Hearthstone directly. At 9, I walk into the conference room carrying my assessment and Grant's copied binder. Aunt Celia sits beside Evan. Malcolm's scuffed black notebook rests open in front of him. Dana has the transfer sheets arranged by property. Evan begins with a slide titled Operational Recovery. Malcolm reaches over and turns off the projector. Before we hear another prepared explanation, he says, looking at me, tell us what can still be saved. 2 openings, I say, not 4. Evan folds his hands on the table. That's not an answer. It's the only workable one. We condition Ashford and North Key here. Valley Linen takes the opening stock for Lenox and Station House under our overflow agreement. Hearthstone moves Lenox and Station House back 12 days. Malcolm turns to Dana. Can the properties move? Lenox can. Station House will complain. Can it move? Yes. Evan pushes his chair away from the table. You're asking us to hand half the launch to a competitor. I'm asking them to process sealed opening stock. Mercer keeps the account. For a premium. For $4,100. That quote is a week old. It's valid through tomorrow. Aunt Celia looks at me. You checked? Lila confirmed it this morning. You contacted her while suspended? Evan asks. I confirmed an existing quote after my suspension ended at 8. Malcolm's mouth moves slightly. It might be a smile. I continue before Evan can turn the meeting into a discussion about my tone. Dana authorizes the transfers back to Marlow, Riverhouse, Stanton, and Bellwether today. Kiara rebuilds each property to minimum par before we release another opening cart. Omar runs the tunnel below peak steam demand until the valve is installed. Grant controls the property calendar and communicates dock changes directly to Dana. Grant sits straighter when I say his name. Evan notices. And what exactly will you be doing? Coordinating the recovery. So you've created a role for yourself. You suspended the person who knew where the shortages were while the shortages were happening. Aunt Celia closes her eyes briefly. Malcolm taps the edge of his notebook. What happens if Valley Linen can't take the full volume? They can take 22,000 pounds this week. Ashford and North Key need 19,600. That leaves Mercer enough reduced speed capacity to restore existing par and condition both openings. And if the valve worsens, Dana asks, we move one opening load to Valley and pay rush transport. Lila has room because Lenox and Station House move back. What if the mixed stock can't be separated in time? Grant has the purchase order breakdown. Kiara has cart seals and floor staff. Hearthstone sends 2 property inventory coordinators to verify sorting before anything leaves our dock. Dana makes a note. Why 2? Evan asks. Because Mercer's staff shouldn't certify Hearthstone ownership alone after unapproved transfers. The sentence lands where I intend it to. Evan turns to Grant. You signed the internal transfer form. I didn't, Grant says. The warehouse supervisor did. He certified that the carts left Mercer. He couldn't authorize taking them from the hotels. Evan looks at Aunt Celia. This is what happens when everyone decides to practice contract interpretation. Dana slides 4 sheets across the table. This isn't interpretation. Hearthstone approval is a signature box. It's empty. I sent you the request. After the carts were collected, we had a schedule to meet. A schedule Hearthstone had not approved. Malcolm lifts one hand and Dana stops. He looks at Evan. Do you disagree with Nora's recovery plan on operational grounds? I disagree with the premise that our own leadership has to be dictated by a suspended employee and an outside processor. Nora's suspension ended this morning, under pressure from a partner. Under written conditions you accepted, I say. His chair creaks as he leans back. Aunt Celia reaches for the assessment. She reads the recovery table, then the cost comparison on the next page. Her finger travels down the emergency purchase column. We've already spent more than this at Marlowe, she says. Retail replacement is temporary, Evan says. So is Valley Linen. He looks at her, surprised by the answer. Malcolm opens his notebook. We'll stagger the openings, he says. Dana will authorize the returns and coordinate property staff. Mercer has until 5 today to accept the overflow arrangement and provide a revised dock schedule. And if we don't? Evan asks. Then Hearthstone moves all 4 openings to another processor while we review the existing service agreement. Aunt Celia picks up a pen. We accept, she says. Evan's face goes still. She signs the recovery approval on Mercer's line and pushes it to me. I pass it to Grant. He's the account lead. Grant takes the page carefully. By noon, the conference room is full of cart maps, takeout containers, and people who normally spend their days avoiding conference rooms. Kiara assigns each mixed stock pallet a staging lane. She uses a blue pencil to mark actual counts on enlarged property sheets taped to the wall. Omar schedules reduced speed production around the existing hotel loads. Dana's coordinators verify ownership against purchase orders. Grant calls each property manager once, gives them the new dock window, and follows with the same information in writing. Station House complains. Grant listens for 3 minutes. I understand the renovation team promised Monday, he says. You can open Monday with retail linen at your expense, or Thursday with conditioned stock under Hearthstone specification. He listens again. Thursday. Thank you. When he hangs up, Kiara looks at him from across the room. That was almost competent. I'm putting it on my resume. Lila sends 2 trucks at 4. She comes with them, wearing steel-toed boots and a red rain jacket despite a clear sky. Wanted to see the famous tunnel, she says. It's less impressive at reduced steam. Most things are. Evan meets her at receiving with the agreement in his hand. These seals remain intact until they're logged at your plant. That's what the agreement says. Our detergent specifications are attached. I've been doing laundry since before your suits got shiny, Evan. He glances at me. You two seem comfortable. Lila follows his gaze. Nora answered the phone when my boiler ruptured. So Mercer gets loyalty at market plus 12%. You get capacity at market plus 12%. Loyalty is why I had capacity when she asked. She signs the manifest and hands the clipboard to Grant. The first Valley truck pulls away at 4:38. I write the departure time on the route board in blue. Evan stands behind me. You're enjoying this? I keep writing. The truck left 8 minutes late. You know what I mean. I'm enjoying having an approved plan. You made me look reckless. You moved hotel inventory before approval to keep a commitment. You made the commitment after I told you we couldn't support it. His voice drops. You told Malcolm everything. He asked for a capacity assessment. You could have solved it internally. I tried. You could have come to me privately. I did. You put a signature line in front of me. For a second, the anger leaves his face. What replaces it is worse because I recognize it. Fear. If Hearthstone cuts the expansion, the lender reprices the tunnel loan. I know. Celia put her building up as collateral. I know that too. And you're willing to let us bleed because I didn't give you a title. I put the pencil down. You kept me in the job because you needed my judgment. Then every time my judgment cost money, you called it negativity. You wanted my responsibility without my authority, Evan. That's what's bleeding. A cart rattles past us toward staging. He looks at the board, at the blue figures proving we are still short, and says, "Fix it." I am. The valve drifts again overnight. Omar catches it before the tunnel trips, but he has to reduce throughput another 4%. At 6 the next morning, Grant reroutes one Ashford load to Valley under the backup option. He tells me after he has checked their capacity, revised the manifest, and received Dana's approval. "You didn't ask me," I say. His expression falls. "I didn't need to," he says cautiously. "It was in the plan." "Correct." He waits. That was a compliment. I couldn't tell. They get clearer after sunrise. Marlowe reaches minimum par by Wednesday afternoon. Denise sends a photograph of 9 sealed pillowcase cases lined up in the room marked floral equipment. Grant shows it to me. She included the $46 credit in the caption. She's sentimental. Ashford's conditioned stock leaves Mercer Thursday morning. North Key follows that evening, 17 minutes before its final dock cutoff. Lennox and Station House receive their Valley processed stock the next week. The hotel openings still have problems. A loading dock blocked by landscaping stone, banquet runners delivered in the wrong shade, a housekeeping freight elevator that develops opinions. But clean linen is in place when the first rooms turn. The replacement valve arrives on Thursday. Omar holds the wooden shipping crate in receiving until Evan personally signs the delivery ticket. "Thought you might want the executive experience," Omar tells him. Evan signs. Hearthstone's decision arrives after the valve is installed and the tunnel holds full demand for 3 consecutive days. Mercer keeps Marlowe, Riverhouse, Stanton, Bellwether, Ashford, and North Key. Valley Linen receives Lennox and Station House on a 1-year contract, along with 2 future openings Hearthstone had never formally awarded to Mercer. Grant remains the account lead, reporting directly to Dana for service matters. Evan is removed as Hearthstone's executive contact. The reduced expansion volume triggers a higher interest margin under Mercer's loan agreement. It hurts. It does not close the plant or wipe out the company. Aunt Celia delays a planned warehouse renovation. Evan gives up the least luxury SUV that appeared the week the tunnel arrived. He retains authority over plant operations, capital planning, and sales, which are the parts of the business he understands when he isn't trying to prove he understands everything. My quarterly bonus appears in my account on Friday. I receive no apology with it. Malcolm returns the following Tuesday for the final partner review. The root board has been wiped clean for the new week, but faint blue shadows remain where the accelerated dates were boxed. Aunt Celia brings coffee into the conference room herself. She hands one to me without asking how I take it. It has cream and no sugar, which is correct. Evan presents the stabilized output numbers. Grant presents the revised property calendar and credits Nora, Kiara, Omar, Dana's team, and Valley Linen by name. When he finishes, Malcolm asks Grant whether he feels ready to manage the account. With the approved scope and access, yes, Grant says. And the expansion? I'd rather earn 2 hotels at a time than promise 8 badly. Evan looks down at his folio. Malcolm closes his notebook. There's one remaining staffing matter, he says. Hearthstone is creating a regional linen operations lead position across our portfolio. Aunt Celia's paper cup bends slightly between her hands. Malcolm looks at me. You understand plant capacity, property operations, vendor contracts, and recovery planning. You also held a difficult line when it cost you. I'd like to offer the role to you, Nora. The blue grease pencil sits near the center of the table. Someone must have brought it upstairs with the capacity sheets. It rolls toward Malcolm's closed notebook. Evan catches it beneath his hand. She works for Mercer. That would be Nora's decision, Malcolm says. Evan presses his thumb into the wax. If you take that job, you know what it'll cost us. I look at Aunt Celia. She is watching me with the same frightened loyalty that kept her beside him through every meeting, even when his decisions frightened her. It will cost Mercer an account operations manager, I say. The regional work was already given to Grant. You know that isn't what I mean. Yes, it is. You just never priced my work until someone else did. Aunt Celia's eyes drop to her cup. Malcolm slides a folder toward me. The formal terms are in there. The start date is flexible. I open it. The salary is higher than Mercer's regional director range. The travel requirement says up to 50%. The role reports to Malcolm. There is language about performance accountability, but nothing about access to vendor data or authority over operational changes. I'm interested, I say. I'm not accepting these terms today. Evan lets out a short breath, almost a laugh. Malcolm nods. What needs work? Travel capped at 30% except during launches. Written access to the data I'm accountable for. Authority to pause a rollout when documented capacity falls below the approved threshold. And the same protection needs to apply to property and vendor staff working under the program. Dana turns her pen between her fingers. That last part will need definition. I'll write it. Malcolm opens his notebook again. Send me language by Friday. I will. The meeting ends without my resignation. Aunt Celia follows me to the route board where Kiara is changing North Key's return count. I kept asking you to remember what Evan did for you, my aunt says. I wait. I didn't ask him to remember what you did for us. Kiara takes her scanner and walks toward the dock, granting us privacy without pretending that's what she is doing. I shouldn't have said you didn't raise me, I tell Aunt Celia. No, she says. You shouldn't have. She touches the edge of the laminated board. But I shouldn't have taught you that help becomes a debt you pay forever. It is not a clean apology. It is enough to stand beside. I'm taking the job if we agree on the language. Her eyes shine, but her voice stays steady. I know. Evan will call it betrayal. Evan calls invoices betrayal. I laugh. She looks through the glass wall toward his office. He'll be angry a long time. That's his job now. Malcolm accepts my revised terms on Friday. Grant and I use my final 2 weeks to create a narrower account binder based on the work he actually owns. He keeps the signed training pages in the front. On my last morning, Kiara cuts the blue pencil from the route board string with a pair of shears. This one's too short anyway, she says, handing it to me. Grant carries my desk fan to my car. You know it only works if you kick it, I tell him. I've been trained. At Hearthstone, a fresh laminated capacity board hangs beside my new desk. Dana leaves a box of blue grease pencils underneath it, still sharp and wrapped in paper. I take one out, write the morning's actual numbers across the top line, and sign my own name beneath them.